Welcome, Wagwan. How you doing? Hey, what's up? Greetings. If you've ever studied communication or you want to improve your communication, you most likely have heard of the concept called code switching. Code switching is basically the idea that you can speak to multiple groups of people based on the vocabulary and the tonality that you're using to speak to them. There's a difference between trying to imitate somebody's way of speech and actually being able to speak in a way that's familiar to that group of people. To give you a great example of somebody who is I would call the king of code switching, President Barack Obama. Let me tell you something. That man does not become president if he didn't know how to code switch. So today, I want to help talk about how to improve your unique style of communication by understanding how to code switch, as well as how code switching can help you. I look at code switching not as trying to turn into a different person, but more like I'm able to speak multiple languages. I grew up in suburban Maryland, Montgomery County, shout out Germantown, and I went to public school. But I'm also the firstborn American of Congolese parents. So for me growing up, I had the experience of learning the skill of code switching from the moment I could talk. In my household, we're speaking French, Lingala, and Shuluba. Those are languages of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, when I go to public school, I'm speaking English. So in my household, I have one language I'm speaking. At school, I'm speaking a different language, but also my parents have to function in America. So I'm watching them go from their language to switch to English with their accent, of course, to make sure that whoever they're speaking to recognizes them as an American who can speak English. This is an interesting conundrum to walk in, but it's almost like a secret cheat code in learning how to code switch because I'm watching people do it every single day. It makes me grow up with the question wondering, why is it important that we can code switch? Code switching is kind of like following a dress code. When you're going into work and you want to talk to your boss about getting a promotion or pitching a project, you're not going to be dropping F-bombs and S-bombs and B-words and all that left and right as you're trying to have a serious and professional conversation, depending on the job you work. But it's important to understand that in that scenario, if you're somebody who uses those words a lot when you're at home, you're technically code switching. And it's the ability to be able to create a professional conversation based on your dialect, tonality, and your word choice. If you're going to a basketball game with some of the kids you grew up with or some of the homies that you've grown up with, it's a lot easier to code switch and speak in an informal manner because those are the people that you have that familiarity with. And in those situations, you're comfortable and you're able to make everybody else feel comfortable because you're talking without thinking. When you go to a high-class restaurant and you're going anywhere that has a dress code, it's important that you follow the code in order for you not to stick out like a sore thumb or be excluded from some of the opportunities that are in that event or in that location. That's why dress code is often strictly enforced. When it comes to the language code, it's not necessarily like it's strictly enforced. It's more like an under the table, if you know type of thing. The better you can follow the code of language based on the environment that you're in, the better the opportunities and the doors that'll open for you in that environment. It's just like anything that you do in life. Most people's first impression of you is going to be based on the first actions you take, as well as what you're wearing. So you only get a couple seconds to make a good first impression. When it comes to using language, it's like a secondary weapon for you in order to make an impression on whoever you're speaking to. The ability to code switch is going to allow for people to either decide if they're comfortable with you, decide if they want to listen to you, or decide if they can connect with you. So speaking in a language that doesn't necessarily resonate with somebody doesn't mean that you won't connect with them. But if you are able to speak in a language that they do connect with on an emotional level, the doors become limitless for where you guys do connect. When it comes to code switching, it's more than just being able to sound smart or sound more relatable. It's almost as if you're speaking another language entirely. And it's more than just your words. It's your body language. Are you going to be slouched over looking like the cool guy? Or do you want to seem like a seasoned professional who's ready to listen? It's important that we're intentional with everything that we do when it comes to our forms of communication. Now understand this, being able to code switch is not the same thing as trying to switch who you are or become a different person in order to communicate to people. The most important part of code switching is being able to keep your aura of genuine authenticity. If you're trying to code switch and it comes off as you trying to become an imitation of somebody that you've heard, or you're trying to sound like people that you listen to instead of being yourself, you're doing it wrong. But it's another thing to learn how to speak that way in order for them to connect with you, or at least learn what connects with them so that way you can understand what they're saying and you don't have to change your way of speech. I'm not gonna go to a Spanish-speaking country speaking French and hoping that they hear me speaking French and understand what I'm saying. I'm going to at least try to figure out words and different tonalities or body language that can be used for me to say what I need to say and for it to be communicated for them to understand it. Now, obviously, when we're all speaking the same language of English, it's not necessarily that different when it comes to how you're supposed to code switch, but it is that different when it comes to understanding the importance of being able to code switch. Some people just won't resonate. There's a lot of case studies that you can look at where people judge based on people's communication techniques. Being able to code switch and getting better at it doesn't necessarily make you a person trying to change who you are, but it does give you more access to rooms in which you don't have to go through the trials and errors of misunderstandings because you couldn't speak their language. I will say that if you're doing anything that doesn't feel authentic to who you are, that's probably not the best action for your mental health. But I will say that being able to code switch is like a skill, and it's something that should be nurtured and mastered if you want to speak to a lot of different diverse groups of people. But it is learning how to be somewhat of a social chameleon in different situations in order for you to get access to more of the rooms that you want to get access to. I think learning how to code switch was one of the best things I could have learned in life. It's allowed me to take things that I learned in one room and give access to the people who don't normally have access to that room, a translation by bringing what I've learned to that other room and speaking in the language that resonates with those people. This allows more people to become interested in another world and open their minds to the idea of how they can get access themselves, because I was able to explain it to them in a language that they understand. A lot more than we think play a role in what code switching is. Body language, hand movements, gestures, everything plays a role. And it's all part of the language that you're trying to communicate. Things I want to make sure that you leave with when it comes to code switching: make sure you understand the room and the situation that you're in. If you're in a professional environment, you have to learn to speak professional. If you're more informal in a place that everybody's being a little bit more casual and chill, don't be the guy that's judging people for speaking casually. If you're in a more formal room, be able to address the room in a formal manner. If you're more informal, be a guy who knows how to crack a joke. Be a guy who knows how to be casual. Be somebody who understands the room and can read it and adjust to it, as well as control it when necessary by knowing the language that the room is speaking. 2, knowing how to code switch doesn't always create a win, but it does help. Meaning if you are someone who knows how to code switch, it means that you know how to speak to the people. And if you could speak to the people that you're looking at, and you could speak to the audience that you're with, that's going to help you connect with them. If you can connect with people, you're going to get your point across a lot better than not knowing how to communicate with these people and how to get your point across. And code switching plays a big role in who's listening to you, how they're listening to you, and how they receive it. Just like you're judged on your first impression based on how you look and how you're dressed, you're going to be judged on how you sound and how you speak. So the best thing you can do is master your unique form of communication. Force yourself to practice. A good way to practice code switching based on the environments that you want to get into is to watch people who speak in those environments. If you want to learn how to be a better professional speaker, you need to watch movies where there's a lot of professional speakers. You need to watch YouTube videos where there's a lot of professional speakers, or watch people around you that often get to speak in a professional setting. And if you want to be better at informal conversations, or how to have better small talk, or create more connections with people around you, watch people do it. And that way you have a better understanding of who you're speaking to and how to naturally be yourself in that situation. And that is how you code switch, but also how you're a better person and a better connector for your own self. This is all forms of bettering your communication, and the better you understand what you lack, what you need to get better at, and how you can get better at it to connect with more people, the better you're going to be communicating in general. Code switching isn't a save-all, it isn't a fix-it, it isn't a now that I can code switch, I'm the best, but it is a great tool to have that adds another language in your repertoire of communicating who you are and telling your story. Growing up in an immigrant household and watching my parents have to learn to speak the language on the phone and learn how to function in America, while me being born in America and having to go to public school and speak a language, coming home speak a different language, created a whole different type of internal identity conflict for me to unpack in a different video. But it did help me get this superpower of being able to understand different rooms, call for different parts of yourself to be at the forefront in order to get your message across. My name is Apex Laurent. I'm here to help you master your unique form of communication and make sure you understand the different tools that come with being able to communicate, tell your stories, and connect with people. If this video helped you, like, comment, subscribe, hit me up. Let's get connected. And I'm here to help you communicate so that way you can help me communicate and tell my story as well. Thank you for watching. There's going to be more videos about communication and bettering your unique form of that on this channel. Make sure you hit me with a sub, hit me with a follow, hit me with a comment, and you already know, more videos, because if you can communicate, you can do anything. If you can tell your story, you can talk to anybody. And if you know who you are, you can say whatever you want because you know how to say it. I'm working that out. We're going to get better at this together. You already know who it is. I know this light is just shining on my bald head right now. I hope it look good. Communication. In order to master communication, you must be a master of self. In order to be a master of self, you must understand your worth. In order to understand your worth, you must be able to look into the mirror, gaze upon yourself, and give yourself the love you deserve. That's enough of the bloopers. We're gonna go ahead and get out of here. I've been watching too much Modern Family.